Hi there, this is Unmesh. I hope you're doing incredible, and today I'm going to share with you how to change the background very easily in Photoshop. First of all, let's simply drag and drop the background image inside of Photoshop, and then drag and drop the subject image on top of that. Make sure it is exactly on top, not anywhere else. We don't want to create a brand new document. Once you drop it, it should create a separate layer for the subject. Hit enter or return. At the moment, we just need to cut out the subject. How do we do that? In the latest versions of Photoshop, this has become very, very easy. Right-click outside the canvas if you're already not seeing the contextual taskbar and click on Show Contextual Taskbar. If you're already seeing that, perfectly fine. Inside of that, you can click on Select Subject. That creates a selection. But if you do want to save a step, directly click on Remove Background. It automatically analyzes the subject and removes the background and creates the mask for you. Done. So darn cool. Now right now it is not perfectly matching. We do need to match the horizon. For that, hold the Shift key and click on the mask button. Think about the line where the land meets the sky. In other words, the horizon line. For that, imagine there were no trees and none of that. It was a plain, flat ground. In that case, where would be the horizon line? For your reference, you can just create that guide if you want to. So I'm just going to take the line tool in the shape group, click and hold, and you will find the line tool. And just create that line where the horizon line would be. Of course, you can move it, make it larger or smaller. I'm just going to press V for the move tool and place it where the horizon line would be. I'm imagining here, it's very close to that of the background. Now you can turn on the mask by holding the Shift key and clicking on the mask again. Now select the subject layer, hold the Control or Command, and select this line together so that they're moving together. Now press Control or Command T and let's adjust it so that the horizon lines match. Now that the horizon lines are matching, another issue. The legs are going away. You can use Generative Fill to create that, or in this case, I'm just going to make the image bigger. So let's bring the anchor point right here. If you're not seeing the anchor point or the reference point, you can just click on this checkbox to see it. Let's bring it right here, right in the middle, on top of that horizon line. And then you can hold the Alt key or the Option key and make it larger. It becomes larger from that particular point. This is perfect. Hit enter or return once you're satisfied. To fit the canvas to the screen, press Ctrl or Command 0. Now you don't need the line, you can just turn it off or delete it. Select the line layer, press the delete key, it's gone. Now from here, there are several things you can do to match the subject with the background even more properly. And I have an entire playlist on exactly that. For right now, in this particular case, if we were to zoom in, the hair selection is okay, but there's a slight halo around the edge, as you can see in these areas. It's very easy to fix that. Simply create a brand new layer, take the brush, and take a sample of the hair color. Hold the Alt key or the Option key and click to take a sample. If it's not sampling that color, you need to go to the eyedropper tool here, and you want to make sure Sample All Layers or Current and Below is selected. I recommend a 3x3 setting. Let's get back to the brush. Hold the Alt key or the Option key and take a sample of this color, and you can start filling that. But if you do fill that, it fills everything. We wanted this to be limited just to the hair. How do we do that? If you want to limit this layer just to the subject, hold the Alt key or the Option key and click on the line between these two layers. You see that arrow? This means that this layer is now limited to this one. Take the brush. Let's go back. We painted a bit extra. Hold the Alt key or the Option key, click on the line between these two layers, and then start painting. I'm going to take a sample of this one. There you go. See how easy it is to fix? Similarly, right in this area. Now, if you're nitpicking and you want the mask to be absolutely accurate, there's one more step you can take. If you were to zoom in, you would notice that some areas have a little edge there and slight halo. It's very easy to remove again and make it slightly softer. Select the Smudge tool. In the Blur group, click and hold and select the Smudge tool. Select the mask. Keep in mind we are modifying the mask only, not the subject. And then with the Smudge tool, let's make it smaller. Strength 20% is fine, mode normal, just push it in. There you go, gone. All that harshness just goes away. Similarly there, you do it all over, only wherever it's needed. It's not needed here, it's not needed there. It's perfectly fine in these areas. Now there are a couple more things missing. If you look at the original background, by holding the Shift key and clicking on the mask button, you would notice that the original background was blurred. So we need to blur this new background as well. Hold the Shift key again and click on the mask button. Now let's select the background layer, and before we do blur it, let's go to Filter, Convert for Smart Filters. Why? So that we can change the settings later. Now let's go to Filter, Blur Gallery, Tilt Shift. Now the way Tilt Shift works is this. Let's increase the blur all the way through. You see the solid line? Anything between these two solid lines are not blurred at all. That's where the blur is 0. From the solid line to the dotted line, the blur gradually increases. So the way shallow depth of field works is that the plane where she is standing, all that area will be sharp, and as we gradually go beyond that, the blur is going to gradually increase. So let us assume that her leg is here. I've zoomed out, by the way, by pressing Ctrl or Command minus, and you can zoom in by pressing Ctrl or Command plus. At this point, let's assume she is standing right about there. And that's where we are going to place the solid line. And the blur gradually increases up until this point where the dotted line is. You can always press Ctrl or Command 0 to fit it to the screen, and the blur wouldn't be too much. So let's decrease the blur. In this case, I'm just gonna go 20 pixels. It works perfectly for me, and you can always change that later. Hit OK once you're satisfied. Now, brightness-wise, you can also match that too. Remember, there's going to be nothing brighter than the light source. Imagining that the light source, which is the sun, is beyond and outside the frame, still, the clouds will be slightly brighter, right? So just above the background layer, we are going to create a curves adjustment layer by clicking on the adjustment layer icon and then simply choosing curves. And take the rightmost slider to the left just to make it slightly brighter, like so. You can also make it brighter like this, but this one just works perfectly. And as a last step to bring everything together, you can apply a color grading on everything, on the subject and in the background. So let's select the topmost layer. Just above that, you can apply a color lookup table. Click on the adjustment layer icon and let's choose color lookup. And from here, again, you can choose whatever you wish. I'm just gonna go ahead and choose something like fall colors. Works beautifully in this case, and maybe decrease the opacity to 32. Just something to bring everything together. Now, one more thing you should keep in mind. In this case, the blurred background works perfectly even if you zoom in. But in many cases, your subject might have a little bit of noise, and the blurred background just gives it away because it has no noise. To add some noise in the blurred background, simply go back to the blur gallery by double-clicking on it. If you're not able to see the smart filters that we have added, simply click on the arrow right there and double-click on the blur gallery. Inside of that, there is a noise option. Click on that and you can add a little bit of noise. Of course, that is too much. I'm just gonna go possibly 16% or even 10%, just a little bit for this one. You can control the size of the noise, the roughness of the noise, color noise if you do want that, many possibilities. Hit OK for this one. This works perfectly fine for this particular example. And if your selection is not perfect, you can always make manual corrections to the masking. In this case, it is perfect, and in the later versions of Photoshop, Select Subject has improved incredibly well. Still, if you do want to make corrections, let's say you want to select an extra area, you can simply select the mask of the subject, take the brush, and do not forget, white shows and black hides. You can always press X to toggle between the foreground and the background color. Let's paint that away like so. By the way, a quick tip, you can click and dab, hold the Shift key, dab again, it creates a straight line, if you were wondering. And finally, do not ignore the direction of light. On the subject, the light is slightly coming from the right, but in the background, it is slightly on the left-hand side. To fix it, you can either flip the background or the subject. Since we don't want the subject to look different, just select the background layer, press Ctrl or Command D, just hit OK, right-click on it, and choose Flip Horizontal. Hit enter or return, and that, my friend, is a pretty easy composite. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to give us a like, and also don't forget to subscribe, and not just subscribe. Ring the bell so that you, my friend, don't miss any other future tips, tricks, or tutorials. I'll see you in the next one. Till then, stay tuned and make sure that you keep creating.